Well, welcome, welcome, welcome. I kind of feel honored that you're here. I think everybody should have a copy of the job entry report. If not, we'll get you one. It looks like everybody does. And basically, where this stemmed from, when I was hired by the board, I had told them that I would like to survey the St. Joseph School District and kind of look at the landscape, listen to the people, the teachers, the community, the staff, and that's what you see here, and this allows us to have a roadmap for St. Joseph School District. And today I can tell you that it has been affirmed that our community strongly supports our teachers and the work that they do in our classrooms with our children. And I do believe that this district is poised for greatness. We are in that position to launch ourselves to be the premier school district, not only in the state of Missouri, but in the country. And over the next few years, there are some things that we're going to work on that we see that we need to continue to improve on, but also some things that we're going to make better for our own children. Kind of to outline this, our big audacious goal, as you see in this, is to become that premier school district. And I'm going to kind of hit some bullet points in there for you that are kind of the benchmarks that our team has come up with as a strategic plan. One is to ensure that we have the funding that is sufficient to be that premier school district. And that is probably one of our big charges. Bo Musser, our CFO, and our team, we're working hard to secure that funding and what we need to do to project forward to what that funding looks like for our kids. We also expect that each school will exceed the state average on the state test scores. That's a benchmark that Dr. Dial and Mr. Schindorf have, and they'll be surveying that and keeping track of that. We want to also score in the upper quartile of the staff and community surveys. We've done some things this year with the town hall, the teletown hall. You'll be seeing some surveys come out here shortly, getting feedback from our patrons. We say feedback is the breakfast of champions. We also say accountability is the muscle. So we want to be accountable to our community. We're going to reevaluate and refine our long-range facility plans. Mr. Hardigan is working hard on that as we move forward. We're building 2 new schools. It was built 2 new schools in over 40 years. That's exciting. But what's the next step? Those schools are going to open in August. What's the next step? So we're looking at that, how to make sure our buildings are meeting the maximum efficiency, even though some of our buildings are 100 years old. Also, we want to perform in the top 10% of all Missouri districts as measured by the annual performance reports. You see that usually in the fall. That's called the APR, is the acronym we use for that. Also, we want to be in the top in the urban school districts because we are considered an urban district. We're over 10,000. We look at our makeup of our students, our population, so we are considered an urban school district in the state of Missouri. Mr. Flowers, increasing staff retention. We do a great job retaining or training staff, but we want to retain them. And we want to look at reducing our operating cost by $1 million while increasing revenue by $1 million. You're going to start to see some of that as we've worked on our solar project, our food service, and so forth. And as we transition into this, I am simply inviting our community to come on board and join us in this great journey, because it is a journey. It is a journey for everyone, but in the end, we will be the premier school district in the state of Missouri and in the country. So with that, I want to open it up to questions or remarks. Alonzo, you look like you have a question.
Yeah, but the long-range plan, I guess that the whole thing costs like what, $112,000 and stuff, just for long-range plan. Are you still going to go by the recommendations of that, or are you going to do something different? And if so, isn't that seen as really there's a lot of money just down the drain for nothing? or just...
Oh, it's a great long-range plan. There's some things in that plan that we can check off that have been done. So anytime you're making
What about the schools and things like that things are being closed? Is all those going to happen, just like in a plan, or is there another plan?
I think we have to evaluate that on an annual basis as we move forward. You start to see I know Mr. Hardigan, Mr. Schindorf, we're working on with the GIS software as we look to see where are our kids, where are the population of our kids. So as we begin to draw those boundaries for those new schools, we start to see, wait, at that time when that plan was developed, the population of kids has shifted. So you have to be fluid. You have to be able to adjust and make adjustments as you move forward. There are some great things in that plan, and we want to use those good things and build upon them. So yes, we will use that. It's not something we put on the shelf that's gathering dust. We will use that. It's a good question. Anybody else? Andre, I'm putting you on the spot. Do you have any questions?
Well, just kind of maybe about the reevaluating some of the facilities. You know, this new schools being built. Anything as far as what we've done in the past year with the planning of it and everything that needs to be changed?
I know Mr. Hardigan and I, and Mr. Musser, Dr. Long, we meet on a weekly basis at our new school sites to determine not only how are those facilities coming along, but what can we do to use that facility plan as we move forward. There are some things we're starting to see. I know Mr. Musser's working on, talk about securing the funding. What have we spent of the bond issue, and what do we have left to air-conditioned buildings? That was one of the things from the facilities plan, is air-conditioned buildings. What's the next step in that? So to tell the public, we are meeting weekly, we call them huddle meetings, to determine where we're at and where we're moving forward.
How will community engagement continue?
Great question, Lori. I mentioned the town hall. We had about 50 people there. The teletown hall, we had at one point 3,000 callers on the line. So the feedback from that was the public liked that format, so our plan is to continue that on a quarterly basis. So we were making plans as we move forward, and some polling of the community, surveys and so forth. But one of the big things will be probably the teletown hall moving forward. Great question. Yes, sir, Dr. Calder.
Dr. Czerwonka, and I asked this question because clearly part of your 100-day plan related to relationship with the school board and creating an understanding and a solid ground for moving forward. And as president of the school board, I want to personally thank you for the amount of personal communication that you have provided each and every board member. I appreciate how you have created a very positive team that's looking at those very specific goals together. And again, I can't say thank you more. I'm also mentioning this, and I'm going to ask you a question because it's very important in terms of feedback for board members. This board had gone through a difficult stage back in February and March and April of last year, and of course we've had major changes now in the school district, and I'm wanting honest feedback from you in terms of how do you feel your relationship is with the school board, and what suggestions have you for your board in terms of continuing to improve?
Great questions, and especially from the board president. I would say we discussed back in August with the board, myself and the board, of what were our goals, what's our strategic plan, and you see that woven in this report, as well as our team, our administrative team, but also that we're a team of 8, meaning there are 7 board members and myself. So we have 8 individuals that work together as a team, and you're starting to see those rewards because we have lots of communication on issues. And we come to the table and we discuss issues and we decide what's the best for our kids, not for me individually or board, or what's the best for our kids. And that's where the work is really done. And as we move forward, if we're going to be that premier school district, we have to emulate that. We have to see what those other premier school districts do. One of the things we're looking at is the Baldrige process. The Malcolm Baldrige Award is an award given throughout many facets. Our own hospital won that award not too long ago, but it's given in the corporate world, the health world, and also in the education world. And we, our team, is looking at processes that we can peel back those layers to find inefficiencies, things that we can make better, but also find things that we're doing well, and let's build upon those. So as we work together as a board, that team of 8 moving forward, we'll work on those processes and procedures to be the premier school district. I have to tell you, this has been the finest move in my educational career. This community has opened their arms, they're welcomed our family and myself here, and this is home. This is really home, and it feels good. It feels good to be a part of a team of 8 that wants to do great things for kids.
Maybe I could say it another way. Is your school board getting in your way?
Oh, no. We're walking arm in arm, side by side, moving forward. It's not me out front. It's our board working together as a team. And that's been very, very nice. We've been able to work together and give each other feedback to move forward. So, great question.
I have another question. With the 2 new schools opening in August, we in the PTA world are looking at this probably a little bit different than what you are, because we're going to be dissolving 2 units of those 2 schools that are closing, and then we'll also need to be opening brand new units for the 2 new schools. And is your time frame about February when you're supposed to have like the final boundary lines?
Yes.
For our time frame to get officers for all of our schools, because when you redistrict, the lines will change on more than just those schools. In February, we have to present a new slate of officers to our general assemblies at each one of the schools. And then in March, we have to elect those, and by March 31st, we have to have those reported to the state PTA office. I'm hearing that there are certain schools that, because they're not sure where the parents are going to be, where the kids are going to be, there's a little bit of difficulty with parents saying yes to a position in schools for next year because they're not sure if they're even going to be at that school next year. So what can I tell them, or
I'm afraid, Lori, I don't have a real good answer. We are opening up, the email went out, I believe, yesterday to the staff, that we are going to open up those principal positions and begin taking applications for those starting December 1st. Is that right, Doug? And we'll go through that month, so we'll notify our board. Here's who we would like to see in those positions in January.
Okay.
January, we'll open that up as teachers hear, oh, this principal's going there. I want to work with that principal, so I want to apply for that position.
Okay.
And at the schools that are closing, we've got a formula that we've worked with our committee, personnel committee, to move people to. And I think you may have even been at that meeting, I'm not sure. And then from that point, then we'll be ready to release the boundaries. But I know Mr. Schindorf, Mr. Hardigan met yesterday, I believe, to look at the GIS software that's almost fully loaded to determine which kids are where. So we know when we put that boundary line, if we move it 1 street over, how many kids does that encompass? Did we get 1 kid by moving it 1 street, or did we get 10 more? So unfortunately, I don't have a good answer, but should be by February 1st. So it may shorten your schedule a little bit. And
Well, and since I'm on the state PTA board, I may have to just say give us a little leeway
Yeah.
this year.
yeah,
And-
we're building 2 new schools.
Yeah. So, but yeah, the new schools will have to, the PTAs will have to be formed before school's out this year.
Yeah.
So that's just something else.
And our goal, we want all the staff, all the kids, everybody to know this is who's going to be at this school by August 1st.
Well, that brings up another question of the staff. So like the staff that's at Hall, they're not just going to move to the new school? Does this open up for district-wide? I'm not sure how
We're
that
going to use a
process works.
formula, so it's the same percentage of kids, and it's a little bit different for Hall than it would be for Coleman or Noyes.
Okay,
We've worked that out, and now all staff is aware of that.
okay.
Yep. And if you want to visit with Doug, he can give you the rundown.
Okay.
Thank you, Mr. Czerwonka.
Thank you, and I'll hang around, and I told those gentlemen, and same Alonzo, I'll hang around and do one-on-one if you want for a little while. Thank you for coming. Thank you so much.